Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Bo Chen.
I'm Nimikon.
I'm Ven Chan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you a part of A Tale of Two Cities, Book the Third, Golden Thread.
Yes.
L.
A Tale of Two Cities, Book the Third, Golden Thread. Charles Dickens. Chap. 1 in Secret Sec 2. My name is Defarge, and I keep a wine shop in the court of St. Antoine. My wife came to your house to reclaim her father. You heard me say why a minute ago. A bad truth for you, said Defarge, speaking with knitted brows and looking straight before him. Indeed, I am lost here. All here is so unprecedented, so changed, so sudden and unfair, that I am absolutely lost. Defarge spoke, always looking straight before him. Perhaps, according to its nature, you will see. But what then? Defarge glanced darkly at him for answer, and walked on in a steady and set silence. The deeper he sank into the silence, the fainter hope there was Sir Darnay thought of his softening in any slight degree. It is of the utmost importance to me, you know, citizen, even better than I, of how much importance, that I should be able to communicate to Mr. Louis of Tolson's Bank, an English gentleman who is now in Paris, the simple fact, without comment, that I have been thrown into the prison of La Force. I will do, Defarge doggedly rejoined. Nothing for you. My duty is to my country and the people. I am the sworn servant of both. Against you. Charles Darnay felt it hopeless to entreat him further, and his pride was touched besides. As they walked on in silence, he could not but see how used the people were to the spectacle of prisoners passing along the streets. The very children scarcely noticed him. A few passers turned their heads, and a few shook their fingers at him as an aristocrat. Otherwise, that a man in good clothes should be going to prison was no more remarkable than that a labourer in working clothes should be going to work. In one narrow, dark, and dirty street through which they passed, an excited orator, mounted on a stool, was addressing an excited audience on the crimes against the people of the king and the royal family. The few words that he caught from this man's lips first made it known to Charles Darnay that the king was in prison, and that the foreign ambassadors had one and all left Paris. On the word except a Beauvais he had heard absolutely nothing. The escort and the universal watchfulness had completely isolated him. that he had flown among for greater dangers than those which had developed themselves when he left England. He of course knew now that perils had thickened about him fast, and might thicken faster and faster yet. He of course knew now. He could not but admit to himself that he might not have made this journey if he could have foreseen the events of a few days. And yet his misgivings were not so dark as imagined by the light of this later time they would appear. Troubled as the future was, it was the unknown future, and in its obscurity there was ignorant hope. The horrible massacre, days and nights long, which, within a few rounds of the clock, was to set a great mark of blood upon the bliss-garnering time of harvest, was as far out of his knowledge as if it had been 100,000 years away. The sharp female newly born, and cold like a lateen, was hardly known to him, or to the generality of people, by name. The frightful deeds that were to be seen done were probably unimagined at that time in the brains of the jurors. How could they have a place in the shadowy conceptions of a gentle mind? Of unjust treatment and detention and hardship, and in cool separation from his wife and child, he foreshadowed the likelihood, or the certainty. But beyond this, he dreaded nothing distinctly. With this on his mind, which was enough to carry into a dreary prison courtyard, he arrived at the prison of La Force. What the devil? How many more of them? Exclaimed the man with the bloated face. Defarge took his receipt without noticing the exclamation, and withdrew with his two fellow patriots. What the devil? I say again, exclaimed the gaoler, left with his wife. The gaoler's wife, being provided with no answer to the question, merely replied, "One must have patience, my dear." Three turnkeys who entered responsive to a bell she rang echoed the sentiment, and one added, "For the love of liberty," which sounded in that place like an inappropriate conclusion. The prison of La Force was a gloomy prison, dark and filthy, and with a horrible smell of foul sleep in it. Extraordinary how soon the noisome flavour of imprisoned sleep becomes manifest in all such places that are ill cared for. In secret, too, grumbled the gaoler, looking at the written paper. He stuck the paper on a file, in an ill humour, and Charles Darnay waited his further pleasure for half an hour sometimes, pacing to and fro in the strong arched room sometimes, resting on a stone seat, in either case detained to be imprinted on the memory of the chief and his subordinates. Through the dismal prison twilight, his new charge accompanied him by corridor and staircase, many doors clanging and knocking behind them, until they came into a large, low, vaulted chamber, crowded with prisoners of both sexes. The women were seated at a long table, reading and writing, knitting, sewing, and embroidering. The men were for the most part standing behind their chairs, or lingering up and down the room. In the instinctive association of prisoners with shameful crime and disgrace, the newcomer recoiled from this company. But the crowning unreality of his long unreal ride. What? They're all at once rising to receive him, with every refinement of manner known to the time, and with all the engaging graces and courtesies of life. So strangely clouded were these refinements by the prison manners and gloom. So spectral did they become in the inappropriate squalor and misery through which they were. Then, that Charles Darnay seemed to stand in a company of the dead. Gosson, the ghost of beauty, the ghost of stateliness, the ghost of elegance, the ghost of pride, the ghost of frivolity, the ghost of wit, the ghost of youth, the ghost of age, all waiting their dismissal from the desolate shore, all turning on him eyes that were changed by the death they had died in, coming there. It struck him motionless. The gaoler standing at his side, and the other gaolers moving about, who would have been well enough as to appearance in the ordinary exercise of their functions, though so extravagantly coarse contrasted with sorrowing mothers and blooming daughters who were with the apparitions of the coquette, the young beauty, and the mature woman delicately bred that the inversion of all experience and likelihood which the scene of shadows presented was heightened to its utmost. Surely, ghostful. Surely, the long unreal ride some progress of disease that had brought into these gloomy sheets. In the name of their assembled companions in misfortune, said a gentleman of courtly appearance and address, coming forward, I have the honour of giving you welcome to La Force, and of condoling with you on the calamity that has brought you among us. May it terminate happily. Charles Darnay roused himself, and gave the required information, in words as suitable as he could find. Oh, what a pity. We so much regret it. But take courage. There was a murmur of commiseration as Charles Darnay crossed the room to a grated door where the gaoler awaited him, and many voices among which the soft and compassionate voices of women were conspicuous gave him good wishes and encouragement. He turned at the grated door to render the thanks of his heart. It closed under the gaoler's hand, and the apparitions vanished from his sight forever. The wicket opened on a stone staircase, leading upward. When they had ascended 30 steps, the prisoner of half an hour already counted them. The gaoler opened a low back door, and they passed into a solitary cell. It struck cold and damp, but was not dark. Yours, said the gaoler. Such are not my orders. You will be visited. And Ken asked then. There were in the cell a chair, a table, and a straw mattress. As the gaoler made a general inspection of these objects and of the four walls before going out, a wandering fancy wandered through the mind of the prisoner leaning against the wall opposite to him, that this gaoler was so unwholesomely bloated, both in face and person, as to look like a man who had been drowned and filled with water. 5 paces by 4.5. 5 paces by 4.5. 5 paces by 4.5. The prisoner walked to and fro in his, well, counting its measurement, and a roar of the city arose like muffled drums with a wild swell of voices added to them. He made shoes. He made shoes. He made shoes. The prisoner counted the measurement again and paced faster to draw his mind with him from that latter repetition. The ghosts that vanished when the wicket closed. There was one among them, the appearance of a lady dressed in black, who was leaning in the embrasure of a window, and she had a light shining upon her golden hair, and she looked like "Let us ride on again, for God's sake," through the illuminated villages with the people all awake. He made shoes. He made shoes. He made shoes. 5 paces by 4.5, with such scraps tossing and hurling upward from the depths of his mind. The prisoner walked faster and faster, obstinately counting and counting, and the roar of the city changed to this extent that it still rolled in like muffled drums, but with the wail of voices that he knew, in the swell that rose above them. To be continued.